Psychedelics today. Thanks for tuning in again. Today on the show we have Tim Cools from psychedelicexperience.net. Tim's a software engineer that had some psychedelic experiences and decided that the psychedelic world needed a site kind of like Yelp, and where people can actually document their experiences and warn people of potentially inadequate facilitators or tell people about wonderful facilitators. And over time, this could become a amazing resource for the psychedelic community. So check it out, psychedelicexperience.net, and let us know what you think. We actually just had the lovely pleasure of being sponsored by Caitlin Thompson at EntheoZen, ENTHEO Zen.com, and we have a special offer over there for some supplements. Kyle and I have been taking them for a couple, maybe about a month now. I've been taking them pretty regularly, and even had some pretty heavy duty party sessions and recovered great from them or with them. The concept is that we have a lot of nutritional gaps as a result of a lot of things, and this helps fill in those nutritional gaps that could be causing a low mood, promotes neurotransmitter production such as serotonin and dopamine, maintains a healthy inflammatory response in the brain, and promotes the repair and regeneration of cells. You might be aware that brain inflammation or neuronal inflammation causes more stress, and depression often and anxiety often are related to inflammation in the brain. So this is a pretty wonderful product, and if you want a deal, free shipping, check out entheozen.com/PT for psychedelics today. entheozen.com/PT. Kyle and I have also partnered with Eric Osborne at Myco Meditations to put on a retreat in Jamaica. We are super excited about it. So this is a legal psilocybin mushroom retreat using Psilocybe cubensis, and we're going to try to fit in some transpersonal breathwork as well. And the dates are May 16 through 23. And we would love to have you be part of this with us. We've got a lot of interest already, and we want you to come. So if you're interested in doing some legal psilocybin sessions with Kyle and I in Jamaica in May, check out mycomeditations.com, MYCO meditations.com, and sign up. You got to apply. Eric will do a little screening process. Let him know that you found out about Myco Meditations from us. That helps us out quite a bit, and we can go from there. So really excited about that, and you'll be hearing about this a lot too. So now on with the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. Today on the show, we have Tim Cools, founder and creator of psychedelicexperience.net. Tim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So your site, I think, is going to make a real serious, meaningful impact in the psychedelic world, because there's really nobody offering the service that you're going to be doing, which is kind of peer-based reviews of facilitators and retreat centers. Let's maybe can you describe the project real quick?
Okay, so psychedelicexperience.net, it's a community website, and the main goal, the main reason why I built it is to crowdsource experiences from people who go to retreat centers or centers worldwide, and collect their experience. These experiences, they will help other people to see what kind of centers they are, and to see what the people have been to at these centers. So the main reason or the main purpose is to collect reviews for these kind of centers.
That's great. Yeah, definitely much needed service in the community. How did you come up with the idea of creating this website?
Okay, so I had a really profound ayahuasca experience. I was not very familiar with the topic before. I had some experiences, but when I got this experience, the night after this experience, I was thinking, okay, this should be available for everybody, or everybody should experience this. And afterwards, I was researching the topic more, and I was looking for centers in Europe, in Peru, in the Amazon. And I found out that not everything is as positive as I initially thought. So there are many problems. There are many problems in Peru where there happened really, really bad things. Like people got raped, people got robbed, people even died in Colombia or in Peru because they were giving other things in centers. And even here in Europe, we have centers, or we have at least one guy who is well known for abusing people during ceremonies. So I was really surprised, because I thought, psychedelics or these kind of plant medicines, they make people better people, but apparently there's also a high risk for abuse. And this is something which made me a little bit angry. And I thought, wait, we have this wonderful tool, the internet now, where people can share their experience. Let's do something with it. I'm a professional software engineer as profession, so I thought, let's make a website where we can collect this kind of reviews. So, I really built it because I felt the need that we have this kind of review system.
Right. It's almost like the legal system reinforces bad people doing bad behaviors to be able to continue doing it, because people don't necessarily want to talk about it. And in a lot of culture, there's no place to talk about abuse that can happen in situations like that. So it's really great that now we have a website that is very accessible and usable, and it does have that really nice map feature, so you can kind of zoom in where it's the closest facility to my house, or where's the closest to the Iquitos airport. So cool stuff like that. So really appreciate the effort. It's definitely obvious it took a lot of time to build. A big labor of love.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yes, it took me really a lot of time to build, and I really hope it can be of high purpose for people, that it can help a lot of people. That's what the intentions are behind it. Because I really feel like people cannot, they don't have a source where they can find this information. People go for reviews to TripAdvisor, for example, especially if you go in Peru, and it can be a good indication. But there is no unified website where you can find it until now. So it's really, really promising.
Have you found any negative feedback from people about, like, they don't want this information out there?
No, not yet.
Good.
No, not yet. I think people understand the value of this information. I can only imagine that people who have bad intentions, for example, centers who do it in Peru, like the really commercial ones, like they have a service to pick up backpackers. They pick them up in the evening, they drop them somewhere, they give them ayahuasca, and then they come back to the hostel the day after. I can imagine that those people wouldn't like this kind of review system, because they probably won't get very good reviews.
Right.
But okay, it's not the idea to put them only in a bad spotlight, but the idea is to help them improve their center or their service. If we have bad reviews, for example, we can start a discussion with the people. We can start a discussion and we can say, hey, we heard you doing this kind of things. We don't think it's a good idea, and probably you should, or you can better to do this. So it's not just to put them in a bad spotlight, but I think it's to open the conversation with these institutes or with these centers to improve their service.
Yeah, Joe and I have been talking a little bit about like ethics and stuff within the psychedelic community, and like maybe how to address some of these issues of abuse, or just maybe like, I don't know, what do you want to say, bad practices?
Yeah, so like even putting somebody in slight physical harm, like how can we minimize that thing, even if they might think it's a benefit?
Yeah, and yeah, it's great. This just seems like a really great, great service to kind of maybe streamline some of that, where people are able to like send reviews out and maybe kind of critique a retreat center and whatnot, and give people heads up if they have seen any like maybe bad practices or whatnot, abuse happening. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's it will also be good to help people connect with there are different sustainable projects, for example, who happen also around the ayahuasca in Peru. For example, to help the indigenous people, to help them. It's also the idea to help to promote this kind of projects, to give them a platform, not only to present the centers, but also projects related to them. For example, rainforest preservation, these kind of things. So it will not only be about the ceremonies itself, but it will be a little bit broader. We also like to include the communities, or we have all the communities worldwide. Most communities in the States, but you also have, it's popping up everywhere in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Belgium. We have 2 who were founded only last month. So I think they're popping up everywhere, and I think communities are also a good way to help people, to educate them about psychedelics, and also to help them to integrate these experiences, to talk about this with people who also been through this, and who also know what the impact can be of these experiences. So we also want to provide tools for people to connect with this kind of organizations. So we actually want to have a directory of all the organizations worldwide who work with the psychedelics. So people can find something close to them to look for help. If they want to go to a ceremony, they can find it. If they need help afterwards, they can find it. So yeah, definitely, it's
almost like a one-stop like hub for all your psychedelic organizations and resources.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the idea is also that we put up events, for example, ceremonies we can put online, but also conferences, community events, and that people can find events close to them, or maybe somewhere else in Peru, somewhere where they want to go. I think it will be more important in the future even, because now the conferences are starting. You see them worldwide, you see them happening. More and more people will be in contact with this topic.
That's great. I also particularly like what you were saying earlier about being of service to indigenous folks. Like, I think it's helpful not to just go do ayahuasca, but perhaps do ayahuasca and then do something helpful for some other people. You know, if it's anything from giving food to poor people to helping an indigenous community with their sustainability needs, or helping rebuild the rainforest, like you were saying. Like there's something about the ayahuasca experience that I think is helped by this charitable action. Not exactly sure what that is. Maybe it's something about participating with a larger group. I really liked that. I have a question. Would psychedelic societies and clubs from around the world be able to add their meetings to your site?
So can you repeat it?
Yeah, so psychedelic club or psychedelic society, would they be able to add their regular meetings to your site for like psychedelic event listings?
So you mean like reoccurring meetings?
Or are they able to just enter them and
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. That's possible now, yeah.
That's great.
So the events I think about are the conferences. They are online already. There's only a few of them, and also want to include the ceremonies themselves, so people can put on the ceremonies, but also the community events. So people can find out where they can learn more about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's great.
I'm on here right now. It's pretty cool. You have like a little pinpoint map, go on events. It kind of shows you what's going on around the world. And can people just submit this on their own, and then it kind of goes through like do you then add it, or can people just have the authority to kind of post it?
So currently it works like this. When you add an organization, then I need to give you the rights to updated information for this organization, because I want to verify manually that you are really working for this organization. When you have these rights, then you can add more information of this organization. You can add events for this organization. You can add all kind of things for this organization. So first you need to get the rights, but you can add organizations yourself. So, and everything is actually, it's open, so everybody can add everything as long as you have the rights for this organization.
Cool. Joe, I don't see our podcast on here. We should probably submit that.
Let's do that.
Yeah. I didn't focus on media companies yet, but they're definitely a part of the organization ecosystem too.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a peer-based, I listened to some interviews you did elsewhere about the site, and there was some mentions about like a community kind of vetting. So like around a negative review, for instance, you were mentioning earlier, it would trigger somebody like you to review that and maybe have a conversation with that center or that person. But is there going to be like a group of power users or administrators that can kind of stay on top of this stuff too and help manage the community?
This is not yet implemented, but the idea I have here is indeed that you have different kinds of levels in the organization, and the more you contribute, or if you are proven that you are somebody who can really help other people in this community, then you have more rights to correct data on the website, for example. Another part I was thinking of, or I'm evaluating if it would be interesting, is a part where we can share experiences. So we can share. Yeah, I think it's not only the experience that you have with an organization, but the psychedelic experience itself. So it's a little bit more technical. So it's more about what did you experience, what did you get out of it, what are the effects, how long did it take. So it's like a trip report or an experience report. And it would be, and it's possible to write it down for yourself. So it's really necessary to journal your own experiences. At least that's what most people do, to give it meaning. And you could do it on this website. So you could log it for yourself. But if you are a good writer and you want to help other people with your experience, you can make it public. You can make it public for your friends, for example, only for the people on the website. Or you can make it public for the whole internet. So everybody can read about your experience. If we can collect many of these experience reports, we can also link surveys to these experiences. And these surveys could be used for scientific research. So if we have a lot of these experiences, it could be really useful for scientific research. And my idea for this part was that we have like a community review system that before an experience becomes public, that people need to see, does it contain offensive language? Is it just crap? Is it just some spam? Is it some marketing for something totally unrelated? So that people have to read it before it becomes public. And this would be really community based. So people compare it with what Erowid have. They have like a whole database with all this kind of drug reports. But the biggest issue I see with this first is that it's not really user friendly. And secondly, it's reviewed by only a small committee. Only a few people can review it. It's not people that visit the website that can review it, but it's only the people from Erowid themselves who can review it. Probably they have good reasons to do that, or it's just tradition, or it's a technical reason. I don't know. But I think it's a good idea to get everybody involved in this, in reviewing these experiences.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because I was going to ask you maybe what's the difference between these experience reports versus like the trip reports from Erowid.
So making them accessible for researchers
they have
huge.
Such a valuable database. I'm not targeting the quantity, but I want to collect really quality reports, and I want to
Hey everybody, Joe here. This podcast is brought to you by Entheozen. We want to feature their product TransAm. It is great, and I've been taking it daily for a while now. I think it's a wonderful product, and we want to have more of you guys try it out. We've partnered with them to get you free shipping, so check them out at entheozen.com/PT to get your Psychedelics Today free shipping offer.
I was just asking you, Tim, about maybe the difference between Erowid and the experiences that you'll be having on your website.
Yeah, Erowid, they have a really huge, valuable database of experiences. And I don't want to replace them or anything. But I think the biggest problems, or the two biggest problems with the database of Erowid is the first one is that it's not really user-friendly. So it's really difficult to add an experience. It's also not possible to keep it privately. And the second problem is that it's reviewed by a small committee of people. So only by a few people. And this means that it can take really a long time. I've read that it can take sometimes until 1 year before reports are published. And I don't think that's the best idea. I think it's better if we put this work in the hands of the community, that the community or people who use the website too can decide which report is good quality or which report isn't. We need some kind of system, because otherwise people would put illegal things online. They would put harassing things online. People would put all kind of things online that shouldn't be in this kind of reports. So we really want to have high quality reports, and I think it's best to have this if the community or if several people can review these reports.
Yeah. And I remember maybe like a year ago, I saw something in a thread somewhere about having a psychedelic journal. And I know you just kind of briefly mentioned that. And there's some posts about like privacy. So what are you doing about privacy if people want to maybe use the journal to publish, personal experiences and whatnot?
Okay, technically, you have if you make a report, the experience itself is encrypted, so it's encrypted in the database. So we try to prevent that anybody, even people who work on the project, can see the contents of these reports. Besides this, we try to implement all the recent safety measures to protect websites and the backend of the website. So people are in control of what they publish. They can make a report private. They can publish it. People are also at any time able to ask to remove something. And this counts for the experience reports, but also for organizations, for events, for everything. So it's people, the users of the websites are really in control of the data and what happens with the data. So I think it's really important. I think especially because it's illegal in many countries. Even if you go to another country, can to have this experience maybe can bring you in troubles. Or can bring troubles. So I think it's only fair that people get as much control over what they share as possible.
Yeah, that's great. And, I think somebody brought up in that thread, or maybe I was even just thinking, it's like, if you go on any Facebook group, I mean, people are just talking about the most absurd things. And like, if you go into like psychedelics and philosophy, people are talking about, I'm doing this and doing that, or, posting pictures of illegal substances. And so, I mean, it seems like even going through that way, through a journal on a private encrypted, it's probably much safer than posting on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Because this is something that we take in account from the start when we build it. And people are not aware that everybody can join every Facebook group or most Facebook groups by default, or what they post on Reddit. It's sometimes traceable. People need to be educated on this. We cannot expect that everybody knows what the problems are. So I think we need to make people also aware of this. That's also one of the tasks of the reviewers. They need to ensure that there are no illegal or things in reviews or in experiences that can bring other people in trouble. So this is something that we really want to avoid.
So I had a conversation with one of the Earwids at Psychedelic Science, and the most fascinating thing they told me was that I think they were just doing some standard server maintenance and had some files or reports that they passed over to some scientists. And the scientists were able to publish like 2 or 3 papers from this data that it took her 10 minutes to get. And this is not part of her normal day. The data is just not accessible for computer scientists or researchers in a helpful way. And what I think is going to be really cool about your site, Tim, is from the beginning that it should be accessible to researchers to be able to say, okay, what are the main words used when discussing GHB or LSD or whatever. I think that's going to be fascinating. That's at least what I recall from our conversation in Oakland. Could you speak about that, like reporting or research aspect a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the idea behind the experiences reports came because I read the DMT, the spirit molecule, where Rick Strassman documents like 60 people who did DMT. And they all describe similar experiences, or they can categorize them in similar experiences. And I thought, this is really interesting, but it's only 60 people. Only 60 people. We should be able to do this on a bigger scale. This should be able to do this with thousands of experiences. So from the start, I created a structure. This kind of analytics are easier when you do. When you store your data in a specific structure. So from the start, they are stored in this structure. And this allows data scientists or researchers to do analytics on them. So this is one part. And the second part, which will be usable for academic research, is that we can link surveys to these experiences. For example, if you go back to the DMT experiences, we can suggest to all the people who submitted DMT experiences that they participate in a survey related to this experience. For example, we can ask about entities, we can ask about all kinds of effects that they have, we can ask about intention setting and how did the follow-up afterwards, 1 month later, 1 year later, did you think about the experience? Does it have the impact that you wanted it to have? When people do it for addiction recovery, or addiction treatment, we can ask on long term what were the effects of this experience. So this is something that we really hope to do, but it's only possible if we get a lot of experiences in the database, of course.
Right. Are there a lot of people participating in this right now?
Okay, it's still really early. The experiences is only by a few people for now. It's a closed beta project for now. So if people are interested, they can contact me or the project, and we can give them access to these features. So it's new, but it's not public yet because we're evaluating if it would be useful or not. So people who really want to cooperate on this, they can always contact me.
Cool. So can you speak a little bit about the psychedelic, culture in the Netherlands? You're just a short drive away from the Netherlands, and there's a fair amount of ayahuasca and mushroom use up there. Are you seeing a great diversity in that in retreat center to retreat center, or is it pretty standard? Are some people good, some people bad?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, or one of the differences between the Amazon and the Netherlands is that in the Netherlands, I don't think there is any center who just do it for the money. It's just too weird to start a center in the Netherlands to do it just for the money. So that's one of the things. I think most centers, they balance between the spiritual, the fully spiritual experience, or a more rational approach to this. And I think it's interesting for people to see what the difference is. So some centers are really really spiritual and really focusing on this aspect in their ceremonies, while other people take a more practical approach, helping people with the medicines without making it too strange for people who are not aware of this kind of ceremonies. So, and this is something I also have in mind to make it, to differentiate this between this kind of centers, because then people can see, okay, maybe this center is more something what I would prefer, or because people can be really put off by the way centers perform their ceremonies, because people are different, people have different backgrounds, some people have no experience in whatever kind of spiritual practice, and if you bring them to some ceremonies, they would really be they would not be happy with the ceremony or the rituals, for example, and this would also prevent them to have a good experience, in my opinion, because they start to worry about all the things that they are seeing. So yeah, I think it's not one kind of center over there. So, but I think they all have good intentions. It's also nice to see the diversity of the medicine they use. You have ibogaine, you have mushrooms, you have the psilohuasca, which is the MROE with the mushrooms. Ayahuasca, of course, we have the toad medicines, Cambo. So it's almost the full range of medicines that they provide over there. So it's a privilege to live so close. It's really nice.
Yeah, and it's legal? Ayahuasca is legal in the Netherlands?
I think it's not 100% legal, but it's so low priority that police doesn't go after it, because all the centers on the website, they are advertising in public for these centers. So I don't want to include any illegal facilitators. In Belgium and the Netherlands, you also have underground facilitators with ayahuasca, probably in the States too. Probably they have it worldwide. But I don't want to include them. I don't want to bring people into troubles, and I also want to help people to have the experience in a legal, or at least a tolerated way. I think it's possible to have these experiences in some places legal. So I think it's worth it to do it in a legal way. It's not that something that you do every week anyway. Right. So I think it's good to plan it. It's good to make it, to prepare it. It's good to go there. I also recognize that it's not possible for everybody, probably financially. So I really hope it will be legal in more countries soon. But I think we're going in a good direction for this.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just saw it was just on your site and seeing retreat centers in the Netherlands. I'm like, I didn't know that there were ayahuasca retreats over there. I knew mushrooms or truffles are legal technically, but yeah, I didn't know that they were having like ceremonies over there, like in the public eye, like having websites like this for it, advertising. Because in the States, I mean, stuff's happening all the time, but it's more underground. I don't think there's too many websites promoting it. No,
hopefully not in public. I know for example, in Belgium, if you have the underground scene, there are websites available who are closed websites who advertise ceremonies with facilitators like neo-shamans who organize it sometimes not in really good environments, or with a lot of people in a living room, with 30 people in a living room. These are not the kind of things that should be promoted, I think. So that's why I only want to include legal or at least tolerated ceremonies. I think most centers in the Netherlands are doing ayahuasca. Yeah, you can even buy the ingredients in smart shops. So it's really nice place.
What I've heard is that the local law enforcement can, as soon as they understand what's happening over there, they're like, okay, that's cool. I think you're doing it for the right reasons, so we're going to leave you alone. So it's like in the U.S., it would be like a sheriff. It's kind of like the Netherlands equivalent of kind of like I don't know, legal bureaucrat of sorts for a small region, and they make an agreement and everything's fine, which is fascinating. And like you said, Tim, yeah, it's just not a priority at all, which is very interesting. From being an American, it's like, oh, look, a country that looks out for the citizens' interests first. Fascinating. Like, who knew a country would care for its people? And yeah,
Come?
Oh no.
So it's interesting to me that there are all these options, right? Like Ayahuasca and these relatively experimental things. You know, psychedelics, I guess, are always experimental, right? But you're dealing with something that's maybe over 100 years old with ayahuasca, at least over 100 years old. And then other drugs that are, 50, 30, 20 years old. So it's all over the map, and I think there's a really cool thing. And what's interesting to me too is it doesn't necessarily seem like a super psychedelic country unless you look at the art and some of the architecture, or just how much people are riding bicycles, which I think is a big deal too.
Yeah. They've definitely environmental consciousness over there.
Yeah. Is there anything about your area, like Belgium, Netherlands, that I might not see as psychedelic that is psychedelic? Like, I don't know the culture too well.
Actually, in Belgium, where I live, we're so far behind the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. Only a couple of months ago, the first community started in Ghent. And currently we started one in Antwerp, the city where I live. And I was really surprised that in Ghent we had, they organized meetings, and like 200 people turned out. And they even had to close the doors because too many people showed up. That's interesting, but because it's really a taboo. It's like nobody talks about it in public yet. So it's really closed, and if you just drive one hour to Amsterdam, it's more open. It's a different culture. So, but it's nice to be in between of them. Mm. It's nice to see it, and also people are getting more aware of the benefits. I saw people wanted to make a Dutch documentary about the benefits of psychedelics. So it's growing and growing. It's probably not at the level where in the States or in UK, but it's growing and growing. I think the Netherlands always was like the marijuana capital of the world, but recently it looks like the States. In the States, it took over, and but I think they will keep up.
I think odds are good. Yeah, it's interesting though that I think there's something about Netherlands that's always been kind of culturally liberal, even for many hundreds of years, because it was kind of like this publishing haven, or a lot of really important books came out of the Netherlands at times when other countries couldn't publish them. I think I need to understand the history better of the region. I'll spend some time on that so I can speak more intelligently about it.
If you come over, we can research together.
That sounds fantastic. I would love to. We're actually looking at it, and I don't know, trying to figure out how to do retreats there in the next year. Hopefully a lot less.
Yeah,
we have a lot of people interested in working with us over there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Have you done breathwork yet? Holotropic breathwork?
Actually, I did. If you go in some centers in the Netherlands, if you go for them for ayahuasca, the first day they do breathwork, and the second day they do the ayahuasca ceremony.
Wow!
So I did it one time in very intense, like 45 minutes. I was really surprised about the impact of it. It was so powerful. And it lasted so long afterwards, the session was 45 minutes, and afterwards it was even 45 minutes, I still felt it. Another session, we did some short sessions, and I'm also doing Wim Hof kind of breathing a couple of times a week. but it's only shorter sessions with retention in between. But I really think I really like this kind of meditation, and I think it's really, really useful. Maybe you should also do a workshop in the Netherlands if you're here.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah. I had a ayahuasca guy that ran this ayahuasca group I went to. He talked a lot about how he wishes everybody that came to do ayahuasca had done a bunch of breathwork beforehand. They would have, he believed they would have a lot less incidents of, bad experiences or uncomfortable experiences, or it's just stuff that's gone awry. Because, the experience can be pretty bad and it's fine. But if the experience gets bad enough where you're acting out physically, trying to run or just having a full panic, like that's a different scenario. And he believed breathwork could help lower the incidence of that in ayahuasca users, which is an interesting idea to me. It would be cool to have a study on that of some kind.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about the Wim Hof.
Yeah.
You mentioned it in the show before, I guess. But they did research on it, but it's more focused also on the retention, of course.
Right.
It's not only and also the cold immersion. It's a combination of all these three things. But I try to practice it at least a couple of times in the week, so it's like a kind of meditation. I think it's nice.
It sounds like Wim Hof partnered with Stanford or a couple other big universities and was doing research around autonomic function. And he also did, I think he did something too where they injected him with a snake poison. A snake venom, and he was able to control that, and that was all on video.
Yeah. Some kind of poison. It was in Utrecht. It's a city in the Netherlands, I guess. I believe, and they injected some kind of poison, and he was able to control it or to destroy it, maybe even. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. The interesting thing too about him is that he's able to help people recreate those things really quickly in a lot of cases. Whereas a Tibetan monk tradition, you could have some of this stuff happening, but it's going to take you 3 decades to get to that point in a lot of cases. So it's just fascinating how quickly Wim Hof has been able to, number one, become really popular, but number two, get a bunch of these techniques that have apparently helped a lot of folks. I'm interested in it. A friend of mine, we're not friends yet. We're gonna be friends. Justin Weiss, out of Boulder, he just finished the Wim Hof training out here in Colorado, and I'm thinking about putting on some workshops with him. Cool. He's part of the Naropa Psychedelic Club, so that should be really interesting. It's cool you bring that up, Tim. Have you done any cold water immersion?
I can tell a little bit more about it. Actually, in the beginning of this year, I had a kind of a burnout, like a bad situation. I was sick all the time, so my immune system was really unhealthy, and then I started to look into different directions to improve this. And then I stumbled on Wim Hof again, and I started to do the full water, the cold immersions frequently. And actually, I was so tired and so in such a bad state, I guess, that it makes me worse. So actually, they compare it with the cold immersion with training, like physical training, and it takes energy and it takes from your body, because you try to adjust your body to this kind of extreme situations. And for me, it was at that time it was not. It was too heavy. It was so I had to stop the cold immersion. I didn't do it. Now it's winter, so I will not start it again. I hope to start it again in spring, because the water now is really cold and the environment too. So, but people have to be careful. Most of the people in the group of Wim Hof, I believe they are good athletes and they are in really good shape. But if you start doing this, if you're not in really good shape, it can be counterproductive. The breathing, I believe, is always beneficial. So the breathing is always beneficial, but the cold immersion, you should be careful with this if you're not in 100% in a healthy state.
The one risky thing I've seen, this seems to be a pattern for me, is it's not totally clear often if you should be doing breath work standing up in a shower. And it seems like a lot of people are doing this and falling down and getting hurt pretty bad. And in some cases, they're actually doing cold water immersion, holding their breath alone without supervision. And that's been really risky for some people. Tim Ferriss actually had a situation that happened to him personally, or a close friend that he talked about on his podcast, and a person almost died from this. So, just like in the FiveMeO DMT world, should you be standing up? Maybe not. Should you be doing it unsupervised alone? Probably not. So, there's some overlap between the psychedelic world and Wim Hof. Actually, Tim, have you used FiveMeO DMT?
I just wanted to mention it. Actually, I did it recently. I did it in November, a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing I thought when I came back was, wow, this is really similar to breathwork. The physical experience, the physical buzz that you have, it's quite similar. And it's if you do breathwork before, you probably can get used to the kind of feeling you get when you do 5-MeO. The 5-MeO experience was really fast. It's difficult to extract everything out of it. I know that in the beginning, so it was the real toad venom I did. I know in the beginning it was slightly visual, only white lights with pastel colors, really soft. Afterwards, it was only white and full immersion in the experience. And then it's the physical experience. You have the tingling in whole your body, like the tingling you get with breathwork. I can compare it with this feeling. So yeah, it was really. I think it triggers the same kind of energy in people. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah. So, what was your experience like with that? Besides, like maybe the white light, like what'd you get out of it?
Actually, maybe it's sounds strange, but it was too fast for me to get too much things out. I had really good conversations with the facilitator, and it really helped me. But it's like normal DMT. I think it's too fast and too alien to get something out of it. At least for me, but people are different. People have different kind of experiences. But for me, it was not. I expected some kind of connectedness that I felt with ayahuasca, but for me it lacked the profoundness. This time I only did it once, so I cannot compare with other times, and it was only my experience, of course. But I thought it was very interesting. It was a really intense and nice experience, but to get really something out of it was too fast for me.
Yeah, I often think that too, and I think that's not an uncommon position either. Like pretty typically, people say we need some time to work on stuff. 5-MeO DMT is interesting though, in that it seems to have a lasting effect on many people. I don't know how long, but what we do see though is overuse by many as well. So some people are doing it multiple times a day, sometimes like 10 times a day as facilitators. Some people are doing it weekly, which might still be too much, because we don't really have any safety data on 5-MeO DMT. It's a very new drug.
No,
in a lot of ways.
People react very differently. Also, the facilitator was explaining me that he saw three kind of groups. You have one group. It was like me. He said. It was like people just go do it, they lay down and they smile, or they just experience the experience. Then you have 1/3 of the people who are a little bit confused or are confused during the experience, but they are fine afterwards. And then you have one group who almost panic or who react very badly, and it's 1/3, and I thought it was actually a lot to have this reaction. And they also digest it very slowly, and they can they need really a lot of time to integrate it days after. For me, the same day I was a little bit tired, and the day after I was just back to normal. I didn't have any flashbacks or weird dreams or whatever. But you read these kind of experiences for people who experience it days after, so that they can sleep very badly, that they have very vivid and weird dreams, that they have difficulty integrating this. So I agree. We should be careful with this medicine.
And were you standing up or sitting when you took it?
No, I was laying down.
Laying down.
Okay. Laying down, yeah. I sat when I inhaled it, and then I had to lay down. And that I agree that this is the best way to do it. And the facilitator, we talked about it too, and the facilitator also agreed that this should be the way to do it. I saw the videos of people who stand up on the beach, and it
seems intense.
Intense, and doesn't look very beneficial for experiencing this. You have to surrender. You don't have to hold your balance. It's not. I don't think it's a good idea to do it while standing.
Like, in the interest of being really careful too. So, I just read a book on getting old recently, and one of the biggest problems that can happen as an older person is you break a hip, right? So, even a 60-year-old person or a 55-year-old person could fall at the beach. Maybe they don't hit their head, but maybe they hurt their hip or a ligament or a knee or a vertebra. Like, for instance, I have like a bulging disc somewhere in my spine, and if I fell on the beach, maybe that could really hurt it. And I'm seeing videos of people doing it in riverbeds where there's big rocks everywhere, running water. And it's really tricky. Some facilitators force people to stand the whole time.
Yeah, and then they smoke it themselves. How can they hold the people if they smoke it themselves?
Yeah. Or how much do you want to trust the person that's smoking 10 times a day?
Yeah, also.
That's something you really have to consider. Are you on that FiveMeO DMT testimonials Facebook group? Or have you seen any of that stuff? No. It's really intense. Very hot topics on there all the time. And a lot of it's around ethics and safety and use and overuse. And there's a lot about the toad maybe going extinct. So it's a really intense subject. People have made a religion out of it in a lot of ways. There's, already dogma. And there's, probably, it looks like 20 different kinds of churches have popped up in the FiveMeO DMT world, and all with different dogmas. And it's something we need to be aware of. Like, let's be a little self-aware as psychedelic people that, it's easy to turn these things into gods, and that we need to be careful and turn each other into messiahs or devils. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit and, not necessarily go there just yet. I'm sure you've seen that too, right? Where psychedelic facilitators will become like the new Jesus for a lot of people. Have you seen that kind of?
Yeah, one of the stories who triggered me to create a website was exactly in this kind of situation. It was like a Spanish person who facilitated ceremonies, and he raised himself to the guru standard. So I don't think that's a good idea. I think people should have less ego if they do this kind of things, and not create more ego. But that's I was surprised that you have this more in the psychedelic communities or in the psychedelic organizations. You see that when people get more famous, for example, these are always the traps that they can fall into. So. Yeah, that's definitely something to be careful about. I think it should be the psychedelic community. It's a new one. but it should be really cautious about this kind of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a lot of spiritual materialism in the sense of gaining experiences and being the one to go extremely far out and whatnot.
In a lot of ways, there's analogies, which is problematic to like the normal hero's journey or like the normal shamanic apprenticeship where you do go overboard for a long time, but you have grounding with teachers and a system in those worlds. And if it's tough, it's hard math, and I think we just need to keep having these conversations. And I think what's best probably is to say, okay, you're not sure about this thing, bring it to the community, have a conversation with it, not just with one person. Maybe you have that conversation with 20 people and see where it goes. Hopefully they're not your devotees that you're having your conversation, but you're having it with other leaders in the field or other people actively involved in the field. And that's why I'm glad we're doing this podcast, right? Because, I'm sure some holotropic breathwork people can get a little crazy. So, but having all this grounding and understanding psychology, inflation, abnormal psychology, that helps a little bit. And I don't know that we have this grounding in psychedelic facilitators too often.
Yeah, definitely. People should be aware of the dangers behind it. So I think you're doing a really good job in advocating the good use of these substances.
Thank you. So we've been recording, Tim, for about an hour. Let's maybe give people a sort of action here to continue on this thread. Is there anything you'd like to ask people to maybe do or check out?
Yeah, I've been working quite hard on the website, on the project, but in the end, it's nothing without people who participate on it. So if we really want to make this useful, I want to ask for people to participate and share their experience with organizations. If they've been to Peru, if they've been to a center in the Netherlands, if they had a good experience, if they had a bad experience, I really hope people will share their experience on the website. And because that's the only way that this can be useful. We need a lot of reviews. We really need many reviews, because it's not useful if we only have a couple of reviews for each center. We need tens or maybe hundreds of reviews for different kinds of centers, and then we can create an image of the centers and to see what are they doing, what are their intentions, how can they help people, or maybe we should avoid them. Maybe we should warn people against them. But this is only possible if people like your listeners contribute and share their experience. So yeah, that's the one thing I really hope that people will do soon.
And what's the website again?
The website is psychedelicexperience.net.
Not the psychedelic experience. I've been typing that in and getting to a different site. So just psychedelicexperience.net.
Yes, psychedelicexperience.net. And here on the main page you can find ayahuasca centers, psilocybin centers, ibogaine centers worldwide, and also communities, and also included one indigenous support project. It's Yage is Our Life. It was about Taitas in Colombia. Actually, it was interesting. Those people, they don't charge for ayahuasca, but they want to exchange their experience with some help. So it's always also good to check this out. It's really nice project.
Wow, that is kind of cool. And in a lot of ways democratizes Amazonian ayahuasca use. That's cool. Great. And yeah, I think that's probably good for now. Kyle, any other questions?
No, just thank you. And people can also find you on Twitter, right? And is there a Facebook page or anything like that?
Yes, and currently I'm in the process of starting up the social media marketing to spread awareness of the project. So I have a Facebook page, but I don't have a lot of likes yet. So please join me also on Facebook, Psychedelic Experience. You can find all the links on the website itself. We will include the links with the podcast so you can find it.
All right. Thanks again, Tim, for your time, and looking forward to talking to you again in a few months, maybe.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, everybody, Joe here. Thanks for listening to this episode. Quick commercial break for you. We are sponsored now by TransAm, a product from Entheozen. Caitlin Thompson, who's a member of the psychedelic community, runs events in San Diego, developed this pretty much for herself, and she uses it every day. I now use it every day. I think Kyle as well. And it's a really cool product that fills in a lot of our nutritional gaps. A lot of our behavior and moods come from your diet, your gut biome, and a lot of other factors. But something we can easily control is our nutrition. And this supplement fills out a lot of vitamin, mineral, and amino acids that can really contribute to feeling better. It includes dopamine precursors, serotonin precursors, a lot of B vitamins at reasonable doses, not anything crazy. It's not like you're going overboard. And it's just a really nice product. I've found that it's really lowered my day-to-day stress. So like the peak stress I would experience with my day job, it's substantially lower now. And using it as a recovery aid after partying, that is for sure a great use case as well. She used to make a product or she's still making it and selling it, but called Weekend Warrior, and TransAm is effectively Weekend Warrior 2. And it's not just for partying anymore. It's for day-to-day stuff, and it's great for us in the psychedelic community. A lot of us are using psychedelics to feel better, and if we don't use them regularly enough, sometimes you feel cranky. Perhaps that's because of gut biome stuff or nutritional deficiencies in some really niche areas like B6, and I wholeheartedly endorse it. That's why I've decided to work with Caitlin as a sponsor, and really excited to see where this goes. So check it out, TransAm from Entheozen, entheozen.com, ENTHEO zen.com. Go to entheozen.com/PT, and you can get a special deal of free shipping. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Hey guys, Joe here. Hope you liked that episode of Tim Cools, and wanted to just remind you, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at psychedelicstodayemail@gmail.com. We've also got a contact form on our website that you can hit us up on, psychedelicstoday.com. And we'd love to hear from you. We've got a lot of great episodes in the near future. Hope you like them. You've got a few days left to sign up for our Psychedelics Today Ultimate Psychedelic Book Giveaway. Check that out at psychedelicstoday.com. We're giving away a ton of stuff, hundreds of dollars worth of books, DVDs, and even a seat to our class. So check that out. And don't also forget to check out our visit to Jamaica with Myco Meditations and Eric Osborne. That's going to be an amazing experience from May 16 through 23. So really looking forward to doing that with you, meeting you there, and hope to hear from you soon. Hope you tune into the next show. Love you guys. Bye.